one schools like this, which will incur a lot of expenditure, where students will be taught multiple subjects by the same faculty. Same faculty will teach for multiple standards also. That will hamper the learning levels of the students. Now we will have complexes where multiple levels of the students or multiple standards of the students will be taught by multiple teachers, and this will help us in ensuring that the right quality of education will be provided. That is the argument of Government of India to promote school complexes under National Education Policy. But at the same point of time, the counter argument which has been provided in the article is, if you promote school complexes, you will not be following the guidelines which have been set up under Right to Education Act. Correct? You will not be following the Right to Education Act guidelines. And moreover, to have one school complex, let's say you will be closing multiple schools, small public schools, the government funded schools, public schools.
Right.
Now if you close the schools and have only one school complex, the schools might be far away for the students to travel. Right? Small children may not be able to travel to this particular school complexes. Now this will basically promote establishment of more and more private sector schools. Is it okay? This will promote establishment of more and more private sector schools. Please listen to me carefully. In the beginning itself, I've told you this. It is an article written by Sonia Gandhi ji. So obviously it will be one-sided. But in the exams, you don't become one-sided. Provide both the sides of the argument. Regarding commercialization, there is one more criticism. What is that? There is an authority by the name of UGC, University Grants Commission. And University Grants Commission generally provides lot of grants. Grants means one-sided funds for these educational institutions to provide infrastructure, to provide quality of learning, etc. But in addition to this, now Government of India set up one more entity, that Higher Education Financing Agency, HEFA, Higher Education Financing Agency, which has been set up in the last decade itself. This Higher Education Financing Agency will basically provide funding not in the form of a grant but in the form of loans for these institutions, that is educational institutions. And these educational institutions are supposed to take loans, financing, and use it basically to develop infrastructure but pay back the loan along with market linked interest rates. Now the argument is, on one side, you will argue that states or let's say center cannot keep on providing funding. There is a limitation to how much funding we can provide to these institutions. They will have to generate their own revenues and let's say develop quality infrastructure, provide good quality education to the children, to the students. Valid argument. But as a result of this, don't you think, now because they are borrowing from HEFA, instead of getting grants, they will have to pay rate of interest. As a result of this, what will happen to the fees that are charged by the schools now? What will happen to the fees? Don't you think the fees or the tuition fees, etc., the rates will be hiked? And when this is hiked, it will basically have an impact on what? It will have it will have an impact on higher education expenses which are incurred by the houses. Is the second counter argument okay with all of you? Third one, communalization, more of a political argument, but nevertheless, it has been one concern. That is communalization. You need to appoint certain teachers, right? Let's say principals, the heads of institutions too. Let's say institutions such as IITs, IIMs, etc. You need to appoint professors. Now, if you reduce the graduate, or if you reduce the let's say restrictions, if you basically make the eligibility conditions much more flexible, etc., this might end up leading to let's say hiring more and more people who are in favor of government, let's say policies, who are in favor of the ideology followed by a particular political party. And there have been certain instances in the recent past where you are seeing, right, let's say the eligibility restrictions have been, right, essentially loosened. They have been, right, basically freed a bit. And you're seeing heads of certain institutions talking something which is not backed by scientific evidence. I hope you understand. They will say this is good, that is good, we will have to this, etc., etc. Is it backed by scientific evidence? And the matter of fact is, these are the people who are heading IITs, IIMs, etc. So that is the precise reason.
देख रहे हो भाई IIT का इज्जत,
regarding the government policies,
इसीलिए बोलते हैं IITian बनो।
actually communalizing,
जेई के एस्पिरेंट से भी बात कर रहा था, अभी जस्ट बात करेंगे जब आप थोड़ा यहाँ से रोड क्लियर होता है।
There is also criticism regarding restructuring or let's say revamping the syllabus in various educational standards. You are seeing NCERT books are getting revised, right? Is there a scientific method